A very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the GETI Talk. My name is Shilpi. I'm the Relationship Manager with the Global Education and Training Institute. Well, isn't vocational training a necessity in education today? Yes, it is. As we see the situations changing right from the last year to this year, everybody is realizing that not just theoretical but vocational training should be a part of education, and that is what Dr. Indira Kasala, who was a former director with a CFBT of Education and Consultancy, is here with us. She has been passed out from the very famous University of Cambridge. She has also been studied. She has also studied from JNU, and she has an experience of almost 30 decades in the field of education. So thank you, ma'am, for joining us. And she belongs to the city, just like Lucknow, the city of Nawabs. She comes from Hyderabad. So, ma'am, welcome to our show, and thank you for joining the Disruptive Education Movement. And her topic, yes, if you have guessed it right, it's going to be vocational education at school level. So, ma'am, the stage is all yours.
Thank you, Shilpi. Okay. I'm basically from mainstream education, or what I'm referring to as general education, but I've chosen this topic with a specific purpose. I'm talking about vocational education at school today because I feel this is the need of the hour. If we look at the scenario outside, when you go into the schools and colleges, you find hordes of students everywhere. But how many of them are actually employable? Have you ever thought about it? And that is the thought that brought me to this topic. I'm going to share about the following contents in my presentation. What is vocational education? Why is it so important? A few misconceptions about vocational education, recent trends, impact of technology and influence of the pandemic, NEP and vocational education, challenges, opportunities, advantages, and the way ahead. What is vocational education? Education that prepares you for work or for taking up employment in a particular skill, craft, or trade, which is very, very specific, is called vocational education. It is also known as career and technical education. It is in contrast to the mainstream education that we see in schools and colleges. What is a vocational school? A vocational school is an educational institution that trains you for a specific purpose in a particular skill or craft. It's specially designed to provide vocational education, and it can be offered at various levels. It could be at the secondary level, post-secondary level, and higher education level. In some countries, it's even offered at school level right from grade 6. And I think the CBSE is also encouraging that from the recent changes that have been brought about. It may be connected with apprenticeship system, traditionally in the classroom or on the job site. Traditionally, we used to have vocational education in the classroom where students were taught the trade or the particular skill with the tools that were used in that particular classroom. Or sometimes it was in the company, the factory, or the organization which provided the space for young students to get trained. Students learn different types of trade skills and trade theory from trained professionals and instructors. Why is vocational education so important? Now, I'm referring to general education system, which is the mainstream education system. Sorry, am I audible? Mainstream. I'm talking about vocational education. Yeah,
you're
sorry.
Audible. You're audible. Okay. Do you want me to put up your PPT?
Yeah. Sorry, you're not able to see?
It is not visible. Can you just share it? It's blank.
Okay. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Let me go back there. I thought you could see it. 1 second. Can you see it now?
No, ma'am.
Not yet. Just a sec. Yeah. Can you see it now?
No, it's not there.
Shilpi,
It's not there.
are you able to see it now?
No.
Not yet. Yes? Is it visible now? Sorry, I can't hear you.
It is visible. It is there now on the screen. You may continue.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so I was talking about the contents that you have just shared. So we've talked about what is a vocational education all about, and what is a vocational school, and why is it important. Now, first of all, the general education system or mainstream education system has not been very effective in developing skills in students, and young people who actually went through the education system did not have the skills required by the industry or agencies for employment. As a result, the vocational education became more and more important. New vocational curricula and courses came up, leading to collaboration with industry so that students could be trained more specifically and prepared specifically with the industry in mind. So if they were going into a particular type of industry, they were given that kind of training. And sometimes the site of the training was also in the industry. Now, a variety of work-based pathways emerged during the 1980s and 1990s when the industry discovered that the youngsters who came out of schools and colleges did not have the specific skills that they required. Vocational education and training is also important from another point of view, particularly in India. If you look at the type of vocational education around the different countries around the world, you will find that the percentage of workforce receiving skill training is very, very low in India. It's in India, you can see it's about 5 to 10% of the workforce which has actually received skill training. In USA, it's 52%, UK 68%, Germany 75%, and Japan has 80%, and Korea on top with 95%. Of course, this data has been sourced from the Planning Commission report, which is dated 2008. It may have changed somewhat. However, we still remain behind in terms of skilled workforce. So you see the urgency with which we need to gear ourselves up for vocational education. And I'm also talking from my experience in mainstream education, where I've observed how students come out in thousands out of their schools and colleges and are not always equipped to take up a job in an industry or any specific area of employment. There are a few misconceptions when we talk about vocational education, especially among the parents of students who guide the students to take up different courses. They feel that vocational education means that it's inferior to mainstream education. So the student will not get the same kind of balanced education that you would get in a normal school, and it has a status symbol for them. And they also feel that it's meant for school dropouts, students who have dropped out of grade 8 and cannot study further, or who are not good in studies. It's meant for those kind of students. So there are a lot of misconceptions around vocational education. They feel that students who cannot continue their studies after grade 11 and 12, or either due to, they feel that the vocational education is meant for them. They also think that vocational education is specifically designed for students of special needs. So many mainstream educationists or parents feel that vocational education is not for their child. They feel a college degree guarantees a position, particularly among the middle class. They feel it will guarantee a white-collar job to their child, and they feel that they will get a good job after completing a degree or a postgraduate degree in arts or any other subject. They feel that every child has the aptitude and interest to succeed in an academic degree program, which is very, very unfortunate. So these are some of the misconceptions, and let's see what research tells us. Now, when you look at research studies, they tell us just the opposite. They tell us, and this is around the world, mind you, they tell us that most people hold very favorable attitudes towards many elements of traditional vocational education. They are liked by many people around the world. Generic, specific technical skills increase worker productivity. It has been found that the worker productivity increases directly in proportion to the kind of training that they've had. The job stability and the skill transfer are much better. 80% of high school students take up one specific occupational vocational course. So it is in sharp contrast to what we've seen the observations of parents are. And it has been found that 1 in 8 academic students, that is the mainstream education students, takes up a vocational course compared to vocational education students. Now let us look at the future of work. I took up this topic particularly because the future of our work is changing so dramatically now, and particularly during the pandemic, you will see it has changed drastically. Recent trends show that changes in the implementation of technical and vocational education and training and skills development worldwide are happening not just in our country but all around the world. And there are very good visible reasons for that. Online vocational education has grown in popularity, making learning various trade skills and soft skills more convenient for students. So, students are learning a diverse range of skills online. The World Development Report by the World Bank, actually the latest report of 2019, states that flexibility between general education and vocational education, particularly in higher education, is imperative to enable workers to compete in changing labor markets where technology plays an increasingly important role. So we can see that there is a very high need for flexibility between mainstream education and vocational education so that those who have come into higher education from a vocational background can also access higher education as well as the mainstream education. And technology should facilitate this. Now, what is the impact of technology on education? Let us look at what has happened. The impact of technology in education and in other fields. We see that technological advancements are forging ahead with such great speed, broadband revolution, affordable tools. Everyone has a PC, a mobile phone, a tablet. These are very, very important for universalization of e learning, particularly in a country like ours. E-learning and digital platforms, they can transform the rural landscape in our country by reaching the remotest areas. So technology is in a sense key to the change that one wants to see in the country and in the education system. Can help in reaching out to the needy. It can reach out to the remotest place because there's no limit to where technology can be accessed. It can even reach those who have been not able to access education so far, and particularly in the case of girls and women in the remotest locations of our country. Training in IT-linked agri-extension services, food processing, agri-based e-commerce, and solar technicians is possible. So the impact of technology is so powerful that it can reach the remotest corners of our country. And if this is combined with vocational education, you can imagine the magic that it can create. Just look at the scenario now, the current scenario, the pandemic from last year. Look at the changes that it has brought about in everybody's thinking overnight. I mean, if we had spent time to train people to use technology in the rural areas or in remote places or in educational institutions, it would have taken ages. But the scenario changed almost overnight. Jobs were already changing fundamentally before the pandemic. But as soon as the pandemic came, it brought about a revolutionary change. Educators and economists saw glitches on the pathway from school to career. This was prior to the pandemic. Collaborative and digital workplaces require skills and mindsets that brought prospective candidates who did not have the required skills. Students did not know how to collaborate with one another. They did not have the technological tools or skills, and hence we found that them lacking in many ways. For many job seekers, access to the job market was blocked by inequity, discrimination, and barriers. So this was the scenario before the pandemic. Let us see what happened after the pandemic. What the pandemic did is it reinvented the entire thinking of people, the notion of studying, the notion of training and working. It made us think how we can shape the future. It has reduced some of the barriers and broadened the opportunity. Has pushed educators like us and school leaders to think about how we should prepare the students. Can you imagine how much time I have spent, and even others in schools, school leaders have spent in training teachers or educators about using technology as a tool to further or enhance the quality of education? But here, due to the pandemic, all of a sudden, everyone has been pushed to the brink to be able to and forced to use technology. It has enabled us to reflect on what are the skills that will really matter in the in a sense. I think that was the positive outcome of the pandemic. Although we've had quite a few negative influences of the pandemic, this is one positive impact I feel that it has had on the society and the functioning society. It has enabled us to think about what are the skills that we may require in the future and which we have started already using. IT, communication, soft skills, and work related. People are now working from home. So you can see the changes, the vast changes technology has brought about, not only in the field of work in IT and related fields, but even in the field of education. And if this is combined with, again, vocational education, we can achieve much better benefits. Let us look at what are some of the possible jobs in the future. Now, disruption has occurred due to the pandemic in teaching, we know, in the travel industry, in hospitality, in all those jobs which have physical proximity. A study by McKinsey has shown that all the physical proximity jobs are going to be reducing after the pandemic gets over. So, what is it going to lead us to? What are the kind of jobs that one can look forward to? I'm not saying that this is an exhaustive list, but here are some of the jobs that are likely to be the future jobs, and some of them are already there. Animation, artificial intelligence, banking. I think you can see the list of all the different jobs. And if you notice, one thing common is all of them use technology. All those with jobs which did not require technology, like the postman or the telephone receptionist and telegraph person, those kind of jobs have become obsolete today. In the same way, after the pandemic it's over, there is going to be a downward movement on jobs which have physical proximity. So teaching, which is one-on-one in the classroom, that has had a major impact. Similarly, people working in offices in close proximity, they've taken a batting on this, a beating on this, and then you've had jobs like the healthcare, even hospitals, healthcare professionals, all those jobs which needed people to interact closely with one another, hospitality, restaurants, aeroplanes, flights, all those industries where you have people working close together have been impacted due to the pandemic. So the technology has impacted our work life. You can see the pandemic has impacted our work life, and so also the mainstream education not being able to meet the demands of the industry and the society has resulted in the need for vocational education today. Let us look at what the national education policy is saying. You know that national education policy was brought out in 2020, and it has a clear guideline about vocational education. Mentions reducing the skill gap by integrating vocational education into all school and higher education institutions. So, which is a major step. The skill gap meaning at the end of our school, how many students come out with really good skills equipped to be able to be employed or employable skills. So, to reduce the skill gap, NEP has brought out this policy, which includes vocational education as a key aspect. Over the next decade, they have given a timeline. Over the next decade, this will happen in a phased manner. It also mentions that it will be introduced at an early stage in schools, perhaps grade 6 onwards. And I think it's high time that we think about that, because in most of the Western countries, in schools where I have studied, in Germany, in Holland, in Russia, you have these exposure to vocations in grade 6 onwards. Students are introduced to tailoring, the tool room, crafts, and various other work-related spheres, carpentry, and all kinds of vocations. And you can choose. You choose one or two of them, which of your interest, and students get a very early exposure. So I think the national education policy has something on those lines. It is to be seen when it gets implemented, but I think this is what it has in the pipeline. It also talks about quality exposure to vocational education and transition into higher education. So it's not just giving vocational education as one stream vis-a-vis the mainstream education system. It is also talking about transition of people who've gone through the vocational education system into higher education. So they will be able to access higher education in their particular stream, which is a very, very good thing. It also talks about creating skill labs for students. And at the end of it, the goal is to ensure that at least 50% of all learners are skilled by the year 2025, which is a tall order. And we have to all work together in harmony to be able to achieve that. If this policy is implemented effectively, the country can make rapid strides economically. Now, one of the things that we must remember, that India has a vast population of young students. The youth is a large percentage of our population, almost 70%. And therefore, it is imperative for a country like ours, if we are able to achieve a skilled workforce, it will be able to provide employment to such a large number of people. And since majority of our population lived and is still in the rural areas, we will also be able to capture that population's aspirations through this kind of an education system. What are the challenges to achieve this? Now, one of the things is, like I said, 2025 is not very far, another 4 years, and already we are into this pandemic for the second year. So, is this realistic and implementable? I think we need to see how soon we can make that bridge this gap by using technology to our advantage, by leveraging technology to access this. And the other challenge is, how fast can we spread awareness regarding vocational education so that people look forward to taking up courses under vocational education. We need to assess the demand and supply for various skills rather than just produce a skilled workforce without understanding the need at the grassroots level. So we definitely need to find out what is the need across the country in different skills, and create a skill map, and accordingly map the schools and institutions against those and provide various skills to ensure quality training programs and courses and build the infrastructure in all the regions across the country. I think it shouldn't be difficult because we already have many educational institutions across the country. We will have to equip them, but we need to ensure that quality standards are maintained. And then we need to increase industry and corporate linkages. More industry engagement with educational institutions is required to be able to be successful in this, to match global industry standards. So, one of the important things that we need to definitely do is to ensure quality industry standards. And if we are successful in this, we will be able to provide employment for all the youth. One of the advantages in this is, let us look at the opportunities in rural areas. You have skill training institutes offering courses related to rural economy. So that could be one of the things that could be done in the rural areas. The farm sector provides a lot of opportunities. Remote working, leveraging technology. Now, people can work from any remote corner of the country if they're using technology. So it doesn't really have to be people located in the urban centers. telecommuting, BPOs, just like people are doing work from home and working on assignments for people in the USA at different timings. In the same way, the rural, whether they live in the rural areas or in the urban areas, does not really matter, as long as they have access and good connectivity and they are equipped with the right skills. If we look at the present scenario, we definitely have a scarcity and dire need for healthcare professionals and healthcare activities that include frontline workers like paramedics, nurses, lab technicians around the country. And this has become more glaring during the pandemic, and the need is really, really dire. The other advantage is some of these vocational education courses can lead to employment in an agency or an industry outside, or they can also lead to self-employment of the youth. So they can probably set up something on their own and employ other people in their own agency or company. CBSE Board offers several courses in vocational education, and they have been adding new courses every year. 40 different courses that cover, areas like I've just picked up a few of them, like areas as the latest area is artificial intelligence, beauty and wellness, design thinking, financial literacy, handicrafts, information technology, marketing, and commercial application. So these are some of the areas, but there are 40 different courses that are offered at the board level. NSDC, the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, set up by the central government in 2014, has also started partnering with industry-led specific bodies under the public-private partnerships. And they have identified 36 sector skill councils, which are promoting different types of skills that will be required by the country. Advantages of vocational education. Now, one of the major advantages of vocational education is that you're not just acquiring the knowledge or the information and getting prepared for life, but you're also getting a skill. You're developing the skill for a particular vocation so that at the end of it, you need not look for any career guidance or any kind of orientation and get confused about what is available and what do I need to do. Because today, without career guidance, students find it very difficult to make up their mind on what to choose as a career. And the most often chosen careers we all know, particularly in our region, in Telangana region and in Andhra Pradesh, are medicine and engineering. Even though they have saturated, students continue to compete for engineering, medicine, and today MBA, as well as IT skills. So these are the courses which are popular, and the other courses remain in the background. So vocational education will go hand in hand with academic development, and which will prepare you with a particular skill, at the end of which you can aspire to become a specialist in a particular field. It increases livelihoods in traditional trades. It could be handicrafts in rural areas, or it could be IT related fields. So it doesn't matter. There's a wide array of opportunities in different trades, traditional as well as modern, that one can choose from. Vocational education also offers you a wide range of career options to choose from, whether it is in the rural area or in the urban area. And today, if you're talking about online teaching, these courses are offered to anybody who, whether you live in a rural area or in an urban area, you can access these courses. The other advantage of vocational education, or the benefit of it, is it increases or enhances the confidence of the person, and it creates a dignity of labor. Students start respecting whatever the kind of course you may choose. But we understand that there are so many different types of courses. Each one has its value. Each one contributes to the development of society, and hence they make a choice rather than just going into those streams like suggested by their peer group or their parents. It also offers opportunities for collaboration between institutions themselves, as well as institutions and industry. Partnerships with higher education institutions and industry become possible, and students also become better equipped to contribute to the economy of the country. So it will provide more opportunities for employment for the youth of the country. And all this is in line with the Sustainable Development Goal 4 of the international at the international level to realize the full potential of India's demographic dividend. The way forward. Now, what next? If vocational education is so important, the key to this is implementation of vocational education through the NEP is the first step. Once that is brought up, then we will be able to reap the benefits of it. Integration into the school curriculum is going to be crucial. Is it going to be only at high school, or are we bringing it to the middle school level? Is it only confined to the CBSE board, or is it accessible to students of other boards, which it is at the moment? It is now accessible only for the CBSE students, whereas the state board does not actually have this kind of facility. They do offer it at the post school level, 11th and 12th grades. But if it is brought at the 6th, 7th, 8th grade levels, it will be really beneficial for youngsters in school. Focus needs to be on skill development so that when the student finishes or completes schooling, he or she is equipped with one or two skills ready for employment or further training. That will give him confidence, and that will give him further opportunities for career development and pathways. Let us create islands of excellence. If we could develop a few institutions of excellence in vocational education, it would be a great learning for the others. It would be of great benefit to the others. So, if a few institutions could come forward and set up, centers of excellence in vocational education, they can take the lead, and then you can have them as hubs for access by other institutions in the neighborhood. Let us leverage technology and take advantage of what technology we have started using during the pandemic and build on it so that we equip our younger generation and make them future ready for the employment opportunities that are likely to come 10 years hence or even 5 years hence, rather than preparing them for jobs which are going to become obsolete. Just mainstream education is not enough. We definitely need to look at vocational education as a great opportunity for us. And in this process, let us enlist industry support and support from the government and other private agencies. So, with this, I'd like to conclude my session. Thank you. And I have a small link there. If you are more interested in knowing about what are the opportunities, the future jobs going to be like, McKinsey has done a beautiful study, and the report is available on that link. So I'm just putting it there for you to look at.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. And there's a question for you. It comes like how to implement this in the school.
Okay. Um, the school management or the principal and the management will have to take a call on this. Look at the various vocations that are already available. Take the example of the CBSE board, where they have a list of 40 different courses. Look at the different courses that are available and identify those that are likely to be beneficial to your students depending on their interests, their backgrounds. Are they living in a rural area? Are they living in an urban setting? And look at the opportunities that they are looking at. Are they planning to go abroad? Or are they planning to study in India? Looking at all these, select a few vocations and groom your students towards that, which means you will obviously have to identify faculty for that particular vocation, set up the facilities. Some vocations do not require many facilities. Some may require setting up infrastructure like computers for artificial intelligence and things like that. So depending on the kind of vocations that you choose, prepare the institution with the infrastructure and the personnel, and make a plan and get going. Of course, there would be some paperwork involved also, which I'm not going into right now, but this would be a good start to look at the possibility that already exists here.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for the answer. And thank you so much for taking out time and being with us and talking about this very important topic, which is so relevant in today's time. So, I hope to see you in the future again with another interesting topic to talk on. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting.